Well, hello good people and welcome back to the channel. It's a wonderful Wednesday, and if you came here for a new Married at First Sight review, then you're in the right place. For the purposes of this review, I'll be sharing with you the episode breakdown, followed by my thoughts on the scenes featuring each of the couples, and I will end things with an overall rating for the show. As usual, it is my plan to not only give a quality review in 10 minutes or less, but I also plan to approach this review from one man's perspective. So without any further delay, let's jump into the review. Here's the episode breakdown for those who like to have their dessert first. The episode is a little over 2 hours long with 10 commercials. If you haven't seen the episode yet, then you will get to see Stacia and Nate's wedding ceremony, some parts of their reception. You'll also get to see some parts of Justin and Alexis' reception, and Lindy and Miguel's wedding. We get a sneak peek of Krysten and Mitch before their wedding, and lastly, Morgan and Bihn are nerfed, and we only get to see them get fitted for their wedding attire. So that's the summary of what happened this episode, and if you haven't seen the episode yet, my recommendation is that you check out the first hour and check out the second hour at your own risk. So let's first talk about Stacia and Nate. We first get to see the build up to the wedding ceremony, and one thing that stood out during this time was that we as the viewing audience get to see Stacia without her makeup, and in my opinion, she looks much better without the makeup than she does with it. But of course, I know that the ladies enjoy putting on makeup and they do it for themselves. But I also gotta give props to Stacia's mother for not only supporting Stacia, but trying to help Stacia understand that she should give her husband a fair shot and not be overly critical of him. I think that this is important because Stacia admits that she's very particular about everything, yet she doesn't want a husband that expects her to change into somebody that she is not. What I gather from this is that Stacia will come into the relationship looking to ding Nate for any little thing that he doesn't do to her liking. Yet she would want Nate to accept her for who she is and not question anything. Which I think is pretty unfair, but we'll see how they make out. Later on, we see some of the scenes of Nate getting ready for the wedding, and the more that I see Nate, the more that he reminds me of a mix between Elijah and Brandon from previous seasons. Nate can be a little shallow, he has rigid standards for the woman that he's with, and he has some jerk qualities that I saw in both of the previous cast members. But we finally get to the wedding, and we see that Nate is as nervous as a preacher at a strip club. But once he sees Stacia, he secretly had a praise break, and his concerns were alleviated, because he essentially wanted a supermodel for a wife, and he got it. But the minister tells Stacia and Nate about each other, and I think the highlight for this part of the episode was that the minister told the crowd that Nate was a freak in the sheets, and he was a divo, which I assume is the male version of a diva. Nate learns all about Stacia's independent nature, her career, but little to nothing about her personality. But once they exchange vows, kiss, and get a chance to talk, they spend the bulk of their time exchanging compliments about one another's looks, as well as talk about their careers and deal breakers. They share their first dance, and from what I can see, there is some genuine physical attraction there. But I just can't help but reiterate how Stacia claims that she's ready to get married and she's afraid of getting hurt in this episode, but in the previous episodes, she shared how she spent X amount of years being single because she was just pushing guys away. I'm sorry, but I can't really see this marriage working for the long haul, but we shall see. So let's move on to Alexis and Justin. We pick up with them taking their wedding photos, and I can already tell that brother Justin is smitten. I say brother Justin's nose is so wide open, he can sniff bowling balls. They take their pictures, and Justin proclaims in front of everybody that he will fall in love with Alexis. I truly feel that Justin has genuine feelings for Alexis, despite not knowing anything about her. But I also sense that Alexis is just going with the flow because she doesn't want to embarrass Justin in front of everybody. A little bit later on, they share their first dance together, and there were some lighthearted moments between the two of them. But Justin, being the transparent gentleman that he is, lets Alexis know that he hasn't kissed a woman, nor has he clapped the cheeks of a young tenderoni in over a year and a half. Alexis asks Justin why, and Justin replies that he is celibate. And this was when keeping it real was about to go wrong. I noticed a complete shift in Alexis' demeanor and reality hit, which was what I feared would happen. I think it's also been a while since Alexis has gotten that pickle tickle, and she has no plans to wait too long for Justin to crack her buns. If he makes her wait, she's either going to ask for a divorce, make his life very miserable, or cheat. So I hope that Justin's brother can have a talk with him man to man, and get him to understand what's at stake here, before things take a turn for the worst. At this time, I'm giving this couple a 50-50 shot that they make it past decision day. Now let's move on to Lindy and Miguel. Their first scenes for this episode show them getting fitted for their wedding attire. Later on, we see Lindy and Miguel getting ready for their wedding. There weren't too many significant things that happened during this part of the episode, but when we get to the wedding ceremony, the minister was the highlight of the ceremony because he was very eccentric and animated in his delivery. I think that Lindy and her family felt that they hit the jackpot when they saw Miguel and they learned that he was also a doctor. And I think Miguel was just happy to be there. They recite their vows, kiss, and the wedding is over. But once Lindy and Miguel are able to sit down one-on-one, Miguel wastes no time pulling out a Dungeons & Dragons token and killing the mood. While Lindy appeared to be flattered by learning that her husband was a nerd, her body language told me that she thought it was lame for Miguel to reveal how much of a nerd he was on the wedding day. So while I think that Lindy is physically attracted to Miguel and she loves his field of work, once she truly gets to know him, I think that she will slowly start to sabotage their marriage in hopes that Miguel will break things off with her. But we shall see. We then go to Krysten and Mitch, and their scenes start off with them getting fitted for their gown and tux. Leading up to the wedding ceremony, we see Mitch have a meltdown over the way his beard was trimmed and because his groomsmen didn't know how to tie a bow tie. And as I'm watching these scenes, I can confidently say that Mitch is a handful, and I can bet $100 that he and Krysten won't make it to decision day. He has legitimate anger and socialization issues, and he has no business being on a show like this. But on the flip side, we have Krysten, who claims to be a daddy's girl, but she neglected to tell her own father about the wedding, let alone being on the show until the wedding day. The episode ends with Krysten meeting with her father hours before the wedding and telling him about the show while asking him if he could walk her down the aisle. And if you ask me, that was pretty messed up. Because if she would do that to her own father, just imagine how she would move around her own husband who she barely knows. As previously stated, these two don't stand a chance. And once again, the only time we see Morgan and Bihn on this episode is with them getting fitted for their wedding attire. But on a scale of 1 to 10, I will rate this episode a 2. It was unnecessarily long, and there's no reason why the show couldn't have finished all the weddings for the episode. But in my opinion, this season is dragging on because at least one of the couples is going to quit midway through the season, and the show needs to fill in the gaps. But this is the review. If you have any comments related to the review or the episode, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll reply to each and everybody. Also, if you're new to the channel and you want to support my platform, feel free to hit the subscribe button, and each new subscriber helps me reach my goal. So until next time, stay tuned and stay safe. Peace.